Hello, America. Dave Hodges here. I'm the host of the Common Sense Show. We are the show that is freeing America one enslaved mind at a time. And we are brought to you by Body Align. And have to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, these products are fantastic. They're based on futuristic technology, interface with health systems and frequencies. And this is all the rage now. We've done lots of shows on this, and these products reflect the best of this. Now, show you here, I use the EMF defense for my phone because I don't want to die of glioblastoma. I need my cell phone, but we know the inherent risks. Also, too, I use the Ultimate Wellness Band. Gives you energy. Don't wear it to bed at night. And those are the two things I swear by. Now, if I needed fast pain relief, yeah, I'd have the pain patch. Also, too, I'd have the sleep patch if I had trouble with insomnia. I don't. I sleep like a log. My wife says I could fall asleep in an elevator. She's right. I have. She just doesn't know it. How do you get these great products? Go to Body Align, ALIGN, bodyalign.com/Dave Hodges. That's bodyalign.com/Dave Hodges. You'll get a pop-up too, a little spinner. Press it, it spins, tells you the discount you're going to get, 30-day money back guarantee, bodyalign.com/Dave Hodges. Well, we are going to move forward with what Dave Hodges thinks, but I'm going to tell you this right now. The Great Deception is underway. I'll give you the Reader's Digest version. If you want about an hour and a half, I'll be presenting to Hear the Watchman on this topic. It's really interesting. And this is what Dave Hodges really believes. I'm going to step aside and say something for a minute here as we get ready to promote what we're going to do. By the way, Hear the Watchman, go to hearthewatchman.com, and I'm sure they have a link to the video conference I'm going to be presenting at. Now, let me just say this. I want to say this very clearly. We need to be careful as Christians, and I have seen some of this, to not be so judgmental, closed-minded, and not even considering all the things that are said to you, and before forming these harsh judgments and issuing these severe condemnations. This is why people get turned off to Christianity. Some of the most judgmental people, honestly, are in our faith. Of course, you can find Karens anywhere, and they're religious Karens or secular Karens. Um, I presented issues of ET disclosure, which is coming. I presented issues of Voyager, the James Webb Telescope, the Hubble, all having similar experiences and giving you a possible secular interpretation. And people, oh, no, Dave, if you're not sticking 100% to the Bible, I was giving different possibilities. This is what Dave Hodges believes. So let's start with the Great Deception. Genesis 6, wickedness in the world. When human beings began to increase in number on the earth, daughters were born to them. The sons of God saw the daughters of humans were beautiful, and they married any of them that they chose. Then the Lord said, my spirit will not contend with humans forever, for they are mortal and their days will be numbered to 120 years. You know, it's really interesting. I was interviewing on longevity a number of years ago, some researchers from Cal Berkeley, really good guys, really professional. And they said, Dave, if we could get the crap out of people's lives, we could live to be 120. Kind of interesting how that number keeps coming up. Okay, now the Nephilim, the Nephilim were on the earth in those days and also afterward. After what? After the flood. That's what comes after these verses here. That's what they're referring to. The Nephilim DNA has survived. The fallen angels, and this is what this is about, has survived to the modern age. And they institute horrible deprivation on this planet. They recruit non-Nephilim DNA to be their servants. They blackmail, they bribe, they pay handsomely to serve their purpose. Their goal is the destruction of humanity, God's prized creation. Okay, now, the Nephilim were on the earth in those days, and when the sons of God went to the daughters of humans and had children by them, they were the heroes of old, the men of renown. Then the Lord saw how great the wickedness of the human race had become on earth, and that inclination of the thoughts of the human heart was only evil all the time. The Lord regretted that he had made human beings on the earth, and his heart was deeply troubled. So the Lord says, I will wipe from the face of the earth the human race I have created, and with them the animals, the birds, the creatures that move along the ground, for I regret that I have made them. But Noah found favor in the eyes of the Lord. In verse 17 in Genesis gets directly to the flood. Now, what does this mean? There were fallen angels. They perverted humanity. God populated humans here to serve his glory, to honor God. These creatures, the fallen angels that were defeated in the war in heaven, put a damper on this. Now, let's flash over to my friend Vance Davis, former NSA, attached to NATO. He was tasked and refused to summon demonic forces from witchcraft devices, like, seances and all the other things they do. And he said no. The purpose was to derive technology from demonic influences, much like what we know the Nazis did. Vance said in his briefings he was told in advance that when the fallen angels are cast to earth, they wanted to steal the human soul to get back at God, but they couldn't figure out how to do it. So they decided to morph the human being. Vance was first saying this in 1988. Transhumanism won't even be a term for at least another decade. Yet he was describing it to me when we became friends in 1992. Vance, right on the money. I tell you, Vance was so good at what he does. So they deserted his group of seven. They deserted and they said, we're not doing this. And H.W. Bush couldn't afford the exposure because he's one of them. And he had to let them go. They were in solitary confinement. Vance said, I thought I was going to get executed. Couldn't do it because a trial or a subsequent investigation might have revealed what they were trying to hide. So this is where I rest on this. Now, the great deception has begun. And now we're going to go from this is my base belief. So people who are on the judgmental side of being a Christian, okay, can put that in the back pocket. Now listen to what's going on today, and you will discover why there is a great deception. I want to start with the old TV show that aired in 1963 called The Outer Limits. And by the way, the CIA ordered this show off the air, and they did it by taking a very successful first year show and putting it into a Saturday night run opposite Jackie Gleason. They got killed in the ratings, and they wouldn't put it back. And the show was canceled after 49 episodes. There was a banned episode called The Architects of Fear. And it was basically about a group of scientists. This is 1963, people. A group of scientists, they got together and said, we got to unify the planet. We could have nuclear war, this and that and the other. We have to put the planet under one custodial agent. Well, I start thinking Satan, right? That's why God created the Tower of Babel, right? To make you babble on and on and on, right? So you couldn't had a harder time uniting. So this banned episode, The Architects of Fear, it did air in some markets, but they'd show it after 11, or they would black out this human transformation to a pretend alien. They'd black it out. You couldn't get anything out of the show. Okay, so what they did is they converted a scientist to being an alien. His mission was to go up, come back to Earth, and go to the United Nations and say, stop your crap or we'll destroy you. It was kind of like based on the day the Earth stood still. You carry your nuclear waves out into space and we'll turn your planet into a burned out cinder, said the character of Michael Rennie in The Day the Earth Stood Still. But The Outer Limits had a similar theme. Unfortunately, in this show, when the scientist came back to Earth, he got off course, crashed, and he was shot and eventually killed by hunters because he had been, it was so grotesque, human to alien. Okay. Now, the plan was to create a fake alien invasion to unify the planet. Okay. Now, what we've been covering here that sent a few people into a tizzy, most people gave me great comments, great feedback. I appreciate that. 1987 technology. But a message was received by the Voyager. And then later this year, Webb, James Webb Telescope, and Hubble. You're going, well, what's the message? We know you're here. In the Veil hypothesis, once we've achieved a certain technology, I explained this earlier today, not binary, but trinary, and quantum AI involved. Now we're at a whole new level of communication that didn't exist in 1987, and now it's 2005. And we use this QI entanglement technology to decipher what Voyager was sending back to us and what Oumuamua and Hubble and the rest are emitting. Listen to this. It's a message from the stars in Schumann resonance. That's a unique vibrational frequency only known on the earth. You can't hear it, but it affects your circadian rhythms, it affects mood and so forth. And you heard me say to start the show, a lot of medical breakthroughs are focusing on frequencies. Frequencies are a big, big unknown to the average person, but we're getting a message made for our zip code. The zip code is the Schumann resonance. Now, people are saying, gee, they're watching, they're going to judge. And I took that secular view and presented it fairly. Now, do I believe it? No, I don't. Oh, I think there's an attitude, there's a group or groups that want you to believe that. But I don't think that's what's going on at all. But they're creating the fear. Every move you make, to quote the police, every breath you take will be watching you. And we could be coming for you. And I even did a follow up today. I talked about when an inferior culture is encountered by a superior culture, what happens. And I talked about some of the ways that we could be conquered, how we could possibly fight back. And again, being true to the secular version of this. But again, presenting the other side does not mean you believe it. It means you're considering a range of possibilities. What I presented to you just now, Genesis 6, fallen angels, that's who's behind this. But let's continue. There was a movie that I think was extremely, extremely accurate for this presentation. It's called The Arrival with Charlie Sheen, 1997. And aliens came to Earth. They took human form and they took over NASA. How appropriate is that? Never a straight answer, conquered by aliens, but in human form. And they were directing the planet to embrace things that would heat the planet up until, like the frog in the boiling pot, humanity would one day become extinct and the evil aliens would reign supreme. Well, this is very similar to Genesis 6 and what Vance Davis was talking about. Okay, now there's Project Bluebeam, a fake alien invasion. Oh, wait a minute. Where have we heard this before? Oh, that's right. Right up here, the banned episode called The Architects of Fear with the show The Outer Limits. So we're coming down to here and we're taking a look at Project Bluebeam, fake alien invasion designed to unify the planet. Now, can I say what I'm about to present to you is absolute gospel truth? There's no other interpretation. This is why I presented the other side. Am I 100% sure? No, but I think this is where it's going. We have a great deception coming, and I think it's already started. And I think this is what it is. We are on the verge of disclosure in Congress of ETs. We are now showing that something is watching us. Our technology advances have triggered a surveillance system, and Oumuamua even came very quickly into our solar system, did not take a normal orbital approach to the Earth. Okay, you get the idea. You're being watched. And you're being watched maybe because someone might feel threatened by you. That's the perception I believe they're trying to create. And let's look at congressional testimony, right? All being done, by the way, by intelligence officers. What could go wrong there? A few outsiders, like Commander Farver and what he saw with the Tic Tac UFO situation. He was a Navy pilot. But I don't really think that what we're looking at here is objective. It's a presentation. It's nudging us into accepting disclosure. And then with disclosure, here comes the threat. Now, the Bible talks about this very clearly, the great deception. Now, you say, no Bible for me. I think you might want to listen because this answers a lot of questions. Thessalonians 2:11, which predicts that God will in end times judgment send, quote, a powerful delusion so that they will believe the lie. This great deception is associated with the satanic work of the Antichrist and his displays of power through signs and wonders. I'm going to touch on that as we go. That's from verse 9. Okay, keep that in mind. Now we'll go down here in Thessalonians 2. There's going to be a great apostasy where before man becomes totally lawless, this gets revealed. Similar apostasies are predicted elsewhere in the Bible. The Spirit clearly says in later times, some will abandon the faith and follow deceiving spirits and things taught by demons. Now, I'm going to take you back to my dad's work when he was working with captured German scientists. And we had this alien demonic discussion when he was revealing things to me. I said, Dad, do you think there's aliens? He goes, probabilities says yes, because I don't think so. I said, I used to ask the Nazis, how did you get so far ahead of us in this theoretical physics that we're trying to reverse engineer? And they said, we got it from aliens. And my dad asked them, did you ever see the aliens? And they said, well, no, we didn't, but our commanders did. I think what they did was they channeled demonic influences. We know Hitler used Ouija boards. It's what led him to invade Russia and ultimately lose World War II over it. And this is what Vance was ordered to do. And he says, no, I'm not going down the demonic path. I don't think it's an accident it happened in Germany either. And Vance said they used to have people come in and teach him how to do this stuff. And he said, we're not doing this. We're not doing it. Ended his military career, but he walked away with his soul intact. And I think this is what we're looking at here. This is part of the great deception. I'm going to tie all this together the farther we go. So stay with me. Okay, now the Spirit clearly says later times some will abandon the faith and follow deceiving spirits and things taught by demons. And that's in 1 Timothy 4:1. And of course, people are complicit in the deception, for they reject the truth and prefer the lies. For the time will come when people will not put up with sound doctrine, okay, which is what I'm reading to you here. Instead, to suit their own desires, they will gather around them a great number of teachers to say what their itching ears want to hear. They will turn their ears away from the truth and turn aside the mist. And that's out of 2 Timothy 4, verses 3 through 4. Jesus spoke specifically to false messiahs and false prophets. Even the people of God, he called the elect, he said, could be deceived if it were not for God's providential intervention. For, this quote from the Bible here, for false messiahs and false prophets will appear and perform great signs and wonders to deceive, even if possible. Even the elect could be fooled. And you can find reference to this in Matthew 24:24, Mark 13:5 through 6, and Luke 21:8. Now, all of these deceptions are instigated by the devil. Back to 2 Thessalonians 2:11, it speaks of the deception of God's punishment on people who refuse to believe the truth. So God finally says, you want to go off on fantasy land? Fine, I'm going to give it to you. Go ahead, throw away your salvation, throw away your soul. And I'm paraphrasing here, but that's effectively what he said. And then we go on and find out that false signs and wonders, with all the wicked deception for those who are perishing, will be part of this because the people refuse to love the truth, which is the gospel. Therefore, God sends them a strong delusion so that they may believe what is false, in order that all may be condemned who did not believe the truth, but had pleasure in unrighteousness. And again, that's 2 Thessalonians 9 through 11. Results in a strong delusion. This is not an instance where God actively deceives the people. Rather, God is simply giving them, those who've rejected the truth, what they really want. We see a similar pattern in Romans 1 18 through 25, where people reject God's truth for so long that he simply abandons them to their own sinfulness. They have, as it were, crossed the point of no return. I think we can just go on and on with this, but I think you get the idea. Okay, now this is how I would tend to lay this out. The great deception is going to be a strong delusion capable of swaying the people's allegiance towards the Antichrist. And based on what's happening in current events, I mean, if you went back 20 years, right, and if a Navy pilot testified before Congress, yeah, I saw this UFO, and boy, they wouldn't believe the things it did, his career's over. That didn't happen. If you look at people like Elizondo and these other intelligence figures or ex figures that have been testifying before Congress in these disclosure meetings, if they had come out with this 20 years ago, they would be in a loony bin and their careers would certainly be destroyed, and they're not. The government's covering things up, and there's aliens out there, by gosh, and we don't know if they're friend or foe. This is the message that's coming out of these congressional hearings. Well, my answer to that is beware of false prophets. The false prophet performed great signs, even causing fire to come down from heaven to the earth in full view of the people, because the signs it was given power to perform on behalf of the first beast. It deceived the inhabitants of the earth. Revelation 13, verses 13 through 14. Now, I think this is really revealing. I think Bluebeam is at the heart of all this. A fake alien invasion, and people are going to die. We'll use AI. There'll be attacks on cities. Ships will get vaporized. People will be killed. Advanced technology that's hidden from the public now will be rolled out in the guise of it's an alien. And we'll be revisiting the show, The Architects of Fear, the movie, The Arrival with Charlie Sheen. We'll be revisiting this, but mostly we're visiting within the Bible. And what I think we're going to see is this fake alien invasion and a magic figure masquerading as the Christ, our Christ, Jesus Christ, will show up imitating, emulating, using some power with the help of AI, and people will be deceived. We'll have all the things that unfold then in the tribulation, recovering from the mortal wound. Then we get into the second 3.5 years, mark of the beast. This is what I think we're on the precipice of. By the way, people will ask me questions like, well, how long is the tribulation, Dave? Well, the Bible's real clear. 3.5 years of really relative good things and 3.5 years of hell on earth. And in fact, the Bible is very clear. It says that if Jesus did not return, there'd be no flesh left alive. Uh-oh, that opens up one other possibility here. And that other possibility is this. Is this AI that they're talking about? If Jesus didn't return, there would be no flesh left alive. I think part of the great deception, the fake alien invasion for the purpose of getting everything under one world government with the great deceiver who will save us from this fake alien invasion, I think this is where this is all headed. Now, there will be a great deception. Am I 100% sure of what I'm telling you is going to unfold the way I'm saying it? No. No, but I think the notion is pretty well supported by scripture and by the merging of current events. And I think it's likely. But even, let's just say, on the chance that I'm wrong, And this, nothing like this is going to happen, although I'd argue it's already underway. If you're sensitized to a great delusion is coming that will sway and threaten even the elect, the people who are already saved, don't you think that this sensitizes us to really watching out for whatever the great deception is? We'll be more in tune to recognizing it and resisting it because you can't become part of the system. You become part of the system, you'll be forced to take the mark of the beast in the hand or the forehead. And if you do that, there's no salvation for you. You are condemned forever. You can't do it and say, "Oh Lord, forgive me." No, this is unforgivable. This is why this is really important that we bring this to people's attention. What we can say factually is that world events are lining up to make it look like we could be approaching tribulation. A great deception is coming. I think I've made a decent case for the Great Deception. Now you have a choice whether it's this is the Great Deception or there's something that we haven't thought of will be the Great Deception. You need to be in tune for anything that takes you away from the Word of God and makes you swear allegiance to a pretend survivor and then someone who will survive a mortal wound. If you do that, you'll keep the salvation of your soul intact. And this is where ignorance is not bliss. And I would hope that you would take this and share this with as many people as possible. Oh, and I know when you talk religion, you're going to get hammered in the comment section. That's fine. I would just ask you keep your comments professional. You don't have to believe what I believe. You don't have to believe my interpretation of what I presented. Let's have an intellectual discussion. To me, I'm going to have to really see some hard evidence to the contrary of this instead of, oh, I just don't think that's true. I need to know how it's not true and what is likely going to be the great deception. But I think one thing you need to know, if you let yourself get sucked into a new system that unifies the planet, God is against globalism. Tower of Babel, right? Speaking different languages. We're not going to let you complete that monumental construction to the sky. There's going to be no new world order here. God hates the new world order because it's inherently born of Satan. I'm Dave Hodges. This is The Common Sense Show. Sign up for our TV show, thecommonsenseshow.tv, for the very best in investigative reporting, and we will see you back here again next time.